touching on today. We're going to get started right now. Yeah, so like I said, I've had bad experiences with manufacturers. So when I was putting together this webinar, I said, yeah, I could focus on your brand identity or your website or your marketing. But I know that one of the most important is making sure you find the right manufacturer. So that's what we're going to be touching on today. All right, then, so let's get started. Let's get cracking. And I would advise anyone to start writing down some notes from this point on if you haven't been writing notes, because this is where everything really starts. Yeah. Cool, effective manufacturing. So throughout this webinar, we're going to be focusing on the effective manufacturing phase of the blueprint. Within this phase, we're going to be learning the best practices to source reliable manufacturers, produce high quality products, all while simultaneously building strong relationships with your manufacturers. This phase will ensure that you have everything in place to avoid manufacturing mayhem, that same mayhem that I previously went through. So in this process, we're going to be focusing on how to communicate with manufacturers. I'm going to be showing you the 3 C's to a good manufacturer relationship, the proven conversation templates, key terms used by manufacturers. We're going to be diving into why tech packs are needed for manufacturers, the pros and cons of overseas manufacturers, and at the end, we're going to be sending you a range of different resources that you can use to actually help you communicate effectively with them. So it's jam-packed. It's a lot of free game. You guys take your notes and answer any questions that you have. All right, cool. So how to build strong relationships with manufacturer. One thing that you understand, or that you're going to find, you may actually know already, is that manufacturers who have been in the industry for a long period of time, they're very skilled at deciphering whether or not you're new or established. How well you portray yourself and your brand will play a huge role in how serious your manufacturers take you. So through experience, this is what I often find happens, yeah? So when it comes to a newcomer brand, often you're going to have slower response times, you're going to have cutting corners in productions. They may not take as much time, energy, care in your productions. They're going to inflate their prices for your samples and bulk orders. They're going to overpromise and underdeliver. They're going to have strict payment terms, fixed minimum order quantities, and less visibility in production. Simply because you're a new brand, they know that you haven't got much to offer them, so they're not going to go above and beyond for you. So whether or not you are a newcomer brand, you always need to make sure that you portray yourself as established, as if you've been here for multiple years and you know what you're talking about. Yeah. And when you are established or portray yourself as established, what's going to happen is you're going to see there's an increase in levels of communication. They're going to reply a lot quicker. There's going to be faster production times or production turnarounds. And I'm talking about with your samples and your bulk orders, more attention to detail in production. They're going to overpromise and overdeliver. Remember now, they know that you're an established brand, so they're going to go above and beyond you. They're going to overpromise and they're going to make sure that they're delivering on those promises also. They're going to have better payment terms. And when I say payment terms, I mean, sometimes you can work with manufacturers. They may say that you need to pay 50% upfront or 50% on the back end. Some manufacturers may say that you even need to pay 100% upfront. But once you are established and you build that relationship with your manufacturers, you can begin to start paying maybe 20% upfront and then 80% on the back end. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be a lot more flexible with their minimum order quantities and have a lot more transparency in production. So just based off of that, I know what side I'd rather be on. I'd rather be on the green side. And today we're going to show you how you can make sure you stay on the green side. Yeah? Cool. Now, that being said, it's vital you position yourself and your brand as very well versed. Even if you're new into the industry, like some of you are, you need to make sure that you're positioning yourself as established, as an expert. And the way that you do this is by an acronym that I put together called the 3 C's. You guys are going to understand that I love my acronyms. I feel like it just makes everything much easier. Yeah, so these are the 3 C's. The first C is communication. The second C is consistency. And the third C is clarity. Now, these are the 3 things that your manufacturers actually want from you. They need this from you. And once you can actually provide this to them, you're going to see that dynamic in your relationship begin to change. So mastering each part of this acronym will ensure that you place your brand in the best position of power when it comes to working with manufacturers. And here's a little pro tip, separate to the 3 C's, but it's just a little gem, a little dime that you guys can take away here. When you're communicating with your manufacturers, you want to make sure that you always speak as if there's a team behind you. It makes it seem as if you have an operation instead of just a small solo project. So what I mean when I say that is, let's just say you're speaking of a manufacturer. You might say to them, okay, I'm going to get the designs ready and I'm going to send them to you. Or, okay, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and I'm gonna make sure it happens. Scrap that. Don't do that. When it comes to speaking of your manufacturers, you want to use phrases such as we, us, them. You want to make sure that it looks like a collective rather than just a one-man army. So, for example, you may be speaking to your manufacturers and say, all right, cool, no problem. I'm going to speak to the team and I'm going to get them to design the tech pack and send it back to you later. Do you know what I mean? It may be a bit of a white lie. You may not actually have a team yet, but it's just a little tip, a little gem to make sure that your manufacturers see you as bigger than just yourself. Do you know what I mean? So you guys can take that with you, use it, and let me know how that works. Yeah. But let's dive into the 3 C's real quick. Cool. So the first C, communication, like I said already. This is the foundation of yourself and your manufacturing relationship. Clothing brand owners often complain about poor communication from manufacturers without looking in the mirror to determine whether or not they're actually communicating effectively themselves. Do you know what I mean? From the minute you first reach out to your manufacturers, you have to establish yourself as an expert. I can't stress this enough. That being said, we put together a range of conversation templates that you can use to communicate with your manufacturer. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through a few of them. We've got a total of 5 templates. We're going to go through 3 of them. And as like a little bonus, a little care package from me to you guys at the end, I'm going to be sending in the conversation templates to the Blueprint community so you guys can actually use them and communicate with manufacturers as if you've been in this game for a good 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Do you know what I mean? But before I even send it to you, we're going to break it down and just kind of understand why they work and why they're effective. Yeah. Cool. So starting off, you've got the manufacturer intro template. So this conversation template helps you introduce yourself to a new manufacturer with clarity while being clear on your expectations. It also asks the right questions to help you determine whether or not this manufacturer is the right fit for you and your clothing brand. So like I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read through the template and then we're going to go through briefly why it works and why it's helpful. Yeah? Cool. By the way, these templates are typically going to be used that when you're communicating with your manufacturer through text messages, whether that's on WhatsApp, Alibaba, Telegram, yeah, text message format. Yeah? So introduction starts off with, hey, hope you're well. My name is enter name Tay, and I'm the manufacturer coordinator at Trendsetter. We're based in London and we're very known for our certificates with our caps. We're currently working with a few manufacturers. However, we're actively looking to onboard new manufacturers who matches our current standards in terms of quality and communication. Here's some questions that you should ask a new manufacturer. Before we move forward, would you mind if we ask you a few questions? So the questions are, what is your minimum order quantity? What is your quality control process? How long have you been in the business? What are your payment terms? Whereabouts are you located? What is your process to handle communication throughout production? Can you show us some of the products that you produce for other brands? How long is your production time for samples and bulk orders? And lastly, what are your payment terms? And just to close off, you want to say, looking forward to hearing back from you and hearing your answers to see if we're a good fit. Much appreciated. So that's the template to introduce yourself to manufacturers. Let's go through it again quickly and break down why it works. Yeah. So over here we've got informal intro. So the reason why I say it's always good to start off with that informal intro is because remember, it's relationship first, then business second. When you're working in manufacturers, especially in China and Portugal, you want to make sure that you're establishing that relationship. So if you're speaking too formal, too corporate, it's very hard to establish that relationship initially. So you want to be a bit more informal, which is why you say, hey, hope you're well. Nothing too formal, corporate. You know what I mean? Then you want to put some context behind your brand. So what you need to understand is that these manufacturers, they're working with hundreds of brands per day. So from the jump, you need to make sure that you're separating yourself from any other manufacturer, which is why we say, add a little USP, add something that kind of makes your brand different. For those of you that don't know, USP stands for unique selling point. Just show them what makes your brand separate from the rest. Next, you want to set clear expectations. So from the jump, you want to be real clear on what you will accept and what you won't accept. So where we've got over here, we're looking to onboard a new manufacturer who matches our current standards in terms of quality and communication. Now these manufacturers know, all right then, cool. This clothing brand is at a certain level already. They're not accepting someone that's got poor quality or poor communication. So it kind of filters out the manufacturers that are good for you, that aren't good for you. Do you know what I mean? Then you want to be assertive. So you want to make sure that you're controlling the conversation. I've spoken to a lot of clothing brand owners, and I feel like they feel like the dynamic is the manufacturer run things and then you come second. But you need to understand that your manufacturers need you as much as you need them. It works the same way, do you know what I mean? So be assertive, make sure you're controlling the conversation, and then also express your experience. So when I say express your experience, ask the right questions. You see these questions that we've got over here. A clothing brand who's just getting started, they're typically not going to ask these questions because they just don't know about it. Do you know what I mean? So you asking these questions, it just shows your manufacturers, okay, like they know what they're talking about. They've worked with a few different manufacturers before. And then lastly, you want to leave it to them. So now you've asked them questions, you've told them what your expectations are. Now it's up to them to kind of suit those needs that you require from them. Do you know what I mean? If they fall short, they fall short. They've saved you some time, energy, and money because you know that they're not the right manufacturers for you. And then you're going to kind of see as well that these manufacturers are trying to prove themselves, to show themselves that they're capable and worthy to work for you. It just changes that power dynamic between you and your manufacturer. Yeah, cool. And like I said already, these templates you guys are going to get sent as well. Next, we've got sample production template. So this conversation template helps you to initiate the sample process with your manufacturer. This template just allows you to position your brand in a way that comes across as prepared and ready to take action. The template also asks questions that you can use to keep your manufacturers accountable. So again, same process, I'm going to read through it, then we're going to break down why it works and why it's effective. Yeah, cool. So introduction. Hey, hope you're well. Just reaching out to state that we would like to go ahead and produce a sample review for our product. Enter your product name. The design team have prepared a detailed tech pack that states all of the necessary information of the sample, including the sizes, measurements, fabrics, and colors. Ready to begin the process, please can you let me know or let us know the best way that we can go forward with the tech pack or send over the tech pack. So here's some questions to ask. Once you take a look through the tech pack, we'd appreciate you if you could clarify a few things for us. Please can you let us know the cost of the samples, including shipping and delivering. That's important. The expected completion time for the samples. Please can you specify how long production will take and how can we pay the initial deposit for the sample. Just to close up, we understand that the production process will require collaboration to make sure that the product comes out as good as possible. It will be beneficial to us if you can keep us updated throughout the process by sending us progress photos and maintaining reliable communication. We're excited about getting started on producing this new sample and appreciate your attention to details. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. So cool, wordy, very, very wordy. I think someone's trying to join. Cool, they're in. So let's go through this one now. Let's break down why this template actually works now. So like I said, again, we've got that informal introduction, making sure that nothing's too formal. Remember, you're building a relationship with these manufacturers. But not only that, you want to get straight to the point. So like I said already, manufacturers are working with hundreds of brands per day. So you don't want to waste too much time with them. Get straight to the point. So where we said over here, just reaching out to say that we'd like to go ahead and produce a sample review, boom, straight to it. Next, we've got show that you're prepared and organized. So this all comes into showing that you're an established clothing brand. So where we've mentioned that the design team, before we even touch on that, again, we put the design team. It makes it look bigger than just you. Make it look like a corporation, make it look like a team, a group effort, rather than just a one-man army. Yeah, it's important. Someone else is trying to join. All right, then. The next, show that you're prepared and organized. So where we've put together a tech pack, including all of the information such as sizes, measurements, fabrics, and colors that just shows your manufacturers that you're on a certain level already. You're prepared, organized, and ready to go. Now let's dive into the questions. Again, be assertive. You want to be controlling the conversation. Your manufacturers don't run this relationship, you know what I mean, as much. If they need you, you need them. It works 50-50, it works both ways. Then you want to make sure that you're holding your manufacturers accountable. So these questions here, yeah, they're questions because you want to know the answer to them, but then also it's like a contract about actually being a contract. And this is why I always say communicate with your manufacturers through text. So you can go back.
If we're not locked in, bro. We're locked in, bro.
Let me mute.
Talking, man.
What's can you mute your mic, please?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're smooth. All right, then, cool. So where was he? Holding your manufacturers accountable. So yeah, these questions are questions because you want to know the answer to them, but it's also like it's a subtle contract. So now once your manufacturers answer these questions, such as how long is completion time to actually complete your samples, you've got that in writing now. If they said it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks and they've taken a month, now you can go back in that chat, screenshot it, send it back to your manufacturer and say, listen, you said you're going to make it within 2 weeks. You haven't held up your end of the deal. What can we do to kind of rectify the situation? Do you know what I mean? So hold your manufacturers accountable. Next, we've got expressing your experience again. So just by the fact that we said we understand that the production process will require collaboration to make sure that the product comes out as good as possible, shows your manufacturer that you've done this. Do you know what I mean? You understand what the process is like. You understand that it's going to take collaboration. A lot of subtle different things that you're saying that's going to have these little check boxes in your manufacturer's mind. I feel like a lot of manufacturers, or a lot of clothing brand owners, I should say, they forget that manufacturers are actually people. Do you know what I mean? So the same way that you're going to deal with a person day to day, you deal with your manufacturers that way as well. There's a few different ways around it, a few different ways to communicate with your manufacturers, just on a human level to make sure that you're getting the best out of them without even thinking of manufacturer. Next, we've got express your expectations. So again, being real clear, real assertive. It'll be beneficial if you can keep us updated. You want to get updates consistently with progress photos and reliable communication. Already letting them know from the jump, this is what we require from you before we even send any money. And then open the floor for some questions, man. As much as you want to be controlling the conversation, again, relationship. So you want it to be give and take. Leave some room for your manufacturer to actually ask you some questions back in return. Cool. So that's the sample conversation template. And we've got one more we're going to go through. Like I said, there's 5 of them, but we're going to be sending all 5 of them over to you. We haven't got the time to go through each and every single one. Last one, let's try and get through this real quick. So this is the production error template. So this conversation template helps you effectively articulate your frustrations with the products that your manufacturers have made. This template is more formal. It's discussing a serious subject and pushes your manufacturer to rectify the issue. Yeah, so like I said already, yeah, one sec. Like I said beforehand, it's important to make sure that you keep that informal communication with your manufacturer because, again, you're building a relationship. But when it comes to situations like this where they've made a mistake with your samples or they've made a mistake with your bulk orders, you want to make sure that you're being a lot more formal, being a lot more straight to the point. Yeah, so let's kick it off. So hey, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to express some concerns we have regarding the recent products that we received from you. Unfortunately, upon inspection, so already you can see there's a change in the way of communicating. It's a lot more formal. We've identified several discrepancies between the products that we received and the details that we outlined in the tech pack. Specifically, then you want to make sure that you're providing evidence. So write exactly what's wrong with it and then also send photos. These deviations from the agreed specifications have left us quite dissatisfied with the final outcome. Resolution. We understand that mistakes can happen during the production process, but this situation has put us in a difficult position. We are reaching out to you in hopes that we can work together to find a solution to resolve this issue. Could you please review the concerns you raised and let us know, is there a way or what way we can rectify the situation? We value our partnership with your manufacturing facility and we're committed to finding a mutually satisfactory resolution. Then close. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to your prompt response and working together to address these concerns. I'll be honest with you, sometimes you might just want to say to your manufacturer, you're taking the piss. Like, do you know what I'm saying? That's what you want to say to your manufacturer when they've got errors in your samples or your bulk, but you can't go about it that way. Remember, I said you always need to establish yourself as an expert. So this conversation template allows you to just kind of express your concerns, but also do it in a straight, direct point. So let's break down why it works. So again, formal intro, straight to the point. Hey, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing this to express some concerns we have regarding the recent products we received from you, more formal. You want to express your disappointment and provide evidence. So where we've got over here, we've identified several discrepancies between the products that we received and details outlined in your tech pack. You want to make sure that you're making it clear that there's a big difference between what you initially sent them and what you received. Show the differences and then provide evidence as well. Evidence is important. If you don't have evidence, it's he say, she. Take your pictures and send it over to your manufacturers. Then you want to make sure that As much as you're expressing your disappointment, you're getting straight to the point, you're being formal with it, you also need to be understanding while seeking a resolution. So where you said over here, we understand that mistakes can happen during the production process, but this situation has put us in a difficult position. So now it's like, cool, from the manufacturer's perspective, they can see that, all right, this clothing brand understands how difficult it can be to make products sometimes, or there may be some fault in some products that we make. 5 out of 100 tracksuits may be a bit faulty. Do you know what I mean? At least you understand that, but at the same time, you're still seeking a resolution. Next, you want to give them an opportunity to resolve it. So before you go in there with guns blazing, saying, run me back my money, or I'm sending these products back to you, give them that grace period just to say, how can you guys fix it? Do you know what I mean? How can we find that resolution that suits both of us? Because remember, it's a partnership, it's a relationship. So you don't want to make sure that this outcome is only benefiting you, because then it's going to make your relationship with your manufacturer quite sour. It's going to be hard to do business going forward with them. So give them that opportunity to kind of fix it, extend that olive branch. Then, again, be assertive. Probably it's a trait that you have seen throughout all the templates, being assertive, controlling the conversation. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to your prompt response and working together to address these concerns. You know what I mean? Straight to the point, controlling the conversation. So those are a few conversation templates. I hope they help you. Like I said, I'm going to send them over to you, and it should help you. It will help you a lot when it comes to communicating with the manufacturer. But let's move forward. A lot of talking, man. All right, then. So with the use of these conversation templates, you'll be able to position yourself as someone who knows what they're talking about from the very beginning. This will leave less room for manufacturers to believe they can take advantage of your lack of experience. You can always translate these conversation templates in a way that's a bit more authentic to how you communicate. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that you need to copy these templates word for word, bar for bar. No, always add in your own lingo, your own little flavor. But these templates, think of it as like a skeleton. It's like a template for you to just use to actually get straight to the point and get what you want out of your manufacturers, yeah? Cool, so that's the first C. Yeah? All right, then we're not gonna do this now. This is a little task, but it's a bit too interactive, do you know what I mean? But essentially, you guys can go off and do this. So you could be writing a text message to yourself just to practice. So I want you guys to put together a short text message to introduce yourself to your manufacturer and ask a few questions to determine whether or not this manufacturer is right for you. Do you know what I mean? So in your own time, write down a quick message, practice it, use the template to help you just kind of communicate that message to your manufacturers. Like I said, we're not going to do this now because we're a bit short on time. So we'll move on to the next C. Cool. Let's move over. All right, then. So first C, communication. Next C is consistency. If there's one thing that manufacturers love, it's consistency. The more consistent you can prove yourself to be, the more reliable and trusted you become to your manufacturer. So here's a few things that you need to aim as a clothing brand owner. Everyone inside here, you are clothing brand owners, or if you're not, you're going to be a clothing brand owner. You want to make sure that these 4 pillars you remain consistent with, and that's communication, production, payment terms, and product specs. So let's dive into them real quick. Cool. Here's another little task. Again, very interactive. So I'm going to do the work for you. I'm going to make it a bit difficult for me. But basically what this is a match the statement with the descriptions. I'm going to match them for you guys, yeah? So cool. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have consistency with communication. So if I'm just looking through these right now, it's this one here. So you want to make sure that you're consistently maintaining an open dialogue between yourself and your manufacturer, ensuring that you use the same platforms to communicate and provide feedback along the way to avoid misunderstandings and delays. So when it comes to communicating with your manufacturers and just people in general, like no one really likes change. Everyone likes consistency. So if you're speaking to your manufacturer one day through email and next day through WhatsApp and another day on Alibaba, it becomes much more difficult to build that relationship. So once you do select a platform to communicate with your manufacturer, stay on that. Do you know what I mean? And communicate in the same way too. Make sure you're being consistent with your communication. Not only that, but also in terms of replies as well. Make sure you're replying on time. I'm pretty sure you guys probably won't have a problem with that because you want your products, but make sure you're replying to your manufacturers in a timely fashion because you expect that from them. So at least do it for them too. Then you've got production. If I have to match this up, production is here. Yeah, consistently provide manufacturers with clear production schedules to help them plan resources effectively and meet deadlines. This also helps to build trust in relationships with your manufacturers. Probably one of the most important ones, if I'm being honest with you. At the end of the day, your manufacturers want to be able to rely on the fact that throughout 12 months in a year, you're going to be ordering with them 8 to 9 times. Do you know what I mean? And from time that you can actually provide that, consistently show that you can do that, now you're helping the bottom line of your manufacturer's business. They're going to start to value you a lot more as a customer now because you're helping them profit-wise. Do you know what I mean? So be consistent with your production. Speak to your manufacturers, and a lot of you are new into the industry, so you may not be able to do it right now. But as you get into the swing of things, speak to your manufacturers and say to them, all right, cool, we've got a flow going at the moment. We're going to be ordering from every 2 months. We're going to be ordering 150 t-shirts from you every 2 months. Now, the manufacturer has that guarantee there. They're guaranteed to be selling 150 t-shirts to you per month. You're helping their business now. Be consistent with your production. You don't want to be ordering one time in January, they're not ordering next until March. They're not going to value you. Do you know what I mean? Then payment terms. Cool. So payment terms is this one. Consistently stick to the established payment terms with manufacturers to maintain a healthy and sustainable business relationship. Pay in the same way. So when you first start communicating with your manufacturers, once you come up with a deal where, for example, you may pay 50% upfront, 50% on the back end after production is complete, try and maintain that. I'm not saying that you always need to keep these same strict payment terms, but it just becomes a lot more, again, reliable. That's the word, reliable to your manufacturers. They know, all right, cool. When I'm working with Trendsetter, when I'm working with X brand, they're always going to pay that first 50% up front, 50% on the back end. I can trust that now. Do you know what I mean? And then lastly, product specs. So that is associated with this top one here. Consistently providing clear and detailed tech packs to assist manufacturers throughout the production process, ensuring no details are missing, such as materials, fabrics, GSM, sizes. Guys, stop working with manufacturers and sending them pictures of products and saying, can you recreate this for me? Can you make this? It's not going to work. You're going to waste money, you're going to waste time, energy. You're going to want to just punch your fist into a wall because no one, not even you, can make a product just from a picture. Start putting together tech packs. And if you don't know what a tech pack is, later in this webinar, I'm going to show you exactly what one is. I'm going to show you an example from Trendsetter. Do you know what I mean? But make sure you're sending tech packs and make sure your tech packs are consistent as well. Helps the whole flow. Not only does it help your manufacturer, helps you too. You don't want to be wasting money on samples, or God forbid your bulk order, like I did when I first started my clothing brand, and you invest money, you can't even sell it now. Do you know what I mean? So make sure tech packs are consistent and detailed. Yeah? Cool. Last but not least, we've got the last C, which is clarity. Now, I don't even think we're on clarity yet. We're still on consistency. I don't know what's going on. But manufacturers appreciate working with consistent brands because consistency breeds predictability and reliability. Those are the two things. If you're going to write down anything throughout this webinar, write down those things: predictability, reliability. You want to make sure your brand are offering both of those things to your manufacturers. Just because you become a lot more valued as a customer when you consistently and positively impact the bottom line of the manufacturer's business. And a key tip that I want you guys to remember with manufacturers is that it's always relationship first, then business after. Sometimes you're gonna hear this a lot. You guys have probably heard this. Business first, don't mix pleasure with business, and whatever the case may be, which I agree to a certain extent. But when it comes to manufacturers, always build that relationship. I'm heading out to China next month to go and meet my manufacturers for the first time. And what I've done, I've booked in different days with a few different manufacturers to go out to eat with them. Do you know what I mean? They're my manufacturers, but let's build a relationship. So I've booked a few different days with them. We're going to go out to eat, have a little quick meal with them, speak to them, just on a human level, not on a business level, on a human level. Relationship first, business after. Yeah? Cool. So let's head over to the last C, which is clarity. Now, let's discuss clarity and why it's so important when communicating with your manufacturers. Clarity and communication with manufacturers lead to smoother production processes and higher overall quality of products. The best way to have clarity and communication is to speak in your manufacturer's language. Yeah, so that's not me saying that you need to learn Chinese, you don't need to learn Portuguese, you don't need to learn any of that. But what you do need to learn is Manulingo. A lot of you in this call probably even know what Manulingo is because I've sent you the Manulingo guide. Yeah, so essentially what the manual lingo guide is, it's a template, it's a guide that we put together that states all of your manufacturer's lingo. In fact, if any of you do have the manual lingo guide, just drop it in the chat. Just say I do, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure a lot of you actually have it already, but it's helpful. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go through some of the keywords that are in the manual lingo guidebook, showing you what they mean, and then hopefully this will just give you an understanding to say, all right, cool. I need to make sure that I'm understanding these keywords, these terms, this lingo that my manufacturer are saying, because that helps you communicate with clarity. You don't want to be speaking with a manufacturer and they're saying to you, okay, what GSM do you want your tracksuit to be? And you're saying, what does that mean? And really, you just look like you look like an idiot. You look like you're just getting started. Do you know what I mean? And you don't want that. Remember, you want to be established, not a newcomer brand. Yeah. So let's dive into some of the keywords. Cool. So this is the manual lingo guidebook. A lot of you have this already. If you don't have this, let me know. I'm going to send it into the group chat as well. After this, you'll have free access to it. Let's dive into a few different words. Cool. So we've got MOQ, we've got GSM, and we've got quality control. Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a whim, yeah, and I'm gonna ask a few people. Yeah. So if anyone's confident enough to answer what any of these means, let me know. Unmute your mic. Yeah, and let us know. So does anyone know what MOQ is?
Minimum order quantity,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Smooth. Right, you're right. Minimum order quantity. Thank you, my bro. Thank you. If you don't mind, if you just mute yourself again. But yeah, minimum order quantity, that's MOQ. Does anyone know what GSM is?
Grams per square meter, innit?
Yeah, smooth. Grams per square meter. So that's just like the weight of your fabric. Does anyone know what QC is?
Quality control.
Bro knows what he's talking about. Yeah, quality control. Do you know what I mean? So those are just a few different keywords that you're going to need to know. But like I said, there's a lot more where that came from. There's tech packs, there's screen printing, there's DTG printing. So many different keywords that your manufacturer are going to be throwing at you. You need to know what they are. Do you know what I mean? So let's keep it pushing. But I can see that you guys have been in this game for a minute because you guys know. But just going through the descriptions again, MOQ describes the minimum order quantity. It's the lowest amount of quality of products that your manufacturer is willing to produce for you. It's typically set by the manufacturer to ensure that production runs cover their cost efficiently. So some manufacturers, their MOQ level may be 50, some manufacturers may be 300. Do you know what I mean? And I see a lot of clothing brand owners, they work with manufacturers based off of their ego. So they're going to work with a manufacturer that's got a minimum order quantity of 300 pieces, order the 300 pieces so they can take their Instagram photo, laying on their tracksuits inside their bedroom. But then when it comes to it, you sold 50 tracksuits and now you're sitting on 250 tracksuits. Do you know what I mean? So don't ego shop. Make sure that you're working with a manufacturer that suits where your brand is currently at. Do you know what I mean? One of the conversation templates are a negotiation template. You guys are going to get that. We didn't touch on that in this call, but there's a negotiation template to help you actually negotiate to drop those MOQs a bit lower. Do you know what I mean? So again, if you start talking to a manufacturer, they're saying the MOQ is 500 pieces, try to negotiate with them. You never know. You may be able to drop them down to a 250 if that works for you. Then we've got GSM, grams per square meter, as bro said. It's just a unit of measurement used to express the weight and density of your fabric. So for example, summertime, you're gonna wanna have a lighter GSM between probably 100 and 150. Do you know what I mean? GSM, that's a lightweight material. When it gets to winter time now, you may want a thicker material to make sure your customers are staying warm. You're gonna go for like maybe a 550 up to probably by 800 GSM. That's a bit more thick. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And then last but not least, quality control. It's a very crucial aspect to the manufacturing process that involves inspecting and ensuring that products are met to a certain quality and standard. So you want to make sure you've got your own quality control process and your manufacturers have one in place as well. Cool. Let's move forward. By the way, anyone got any questions? Drop them down. Yeah. So quick recap. Again, I'm going to ask a few people. Let's see anyone's been paying attention. Who remembers what the acronym CCC stands for? Let's see if anyone's got that.
Communication, consistency, clarity.
Smooth. Perfect. Why is it important to position yourself as an established brand, would you say?
so they don't take the piss.
Yeah, yeah, literally that, 100%. What can you use to make sure that you have clarity when you're speaking with your manufacturers? Anyone know?
Templates you showed us, the
Yeah.
manufacturer template, sample production thing, another one.
Yeah. So you guys can use that. And then why should you refrain from keeping conversations with your manufacturers too formal?
Because you want to build like a relationship with the manufacturer, so it's not just like where it's business, where to a point, where you get to a certain level, the manufacturer can actually, do stuff for you that you never even asked for, so it's building a relationship.
100%, bro. Spot on, man. Spot on. So as much as you want to make sure that you keep it informal, you still want to make sure that you keep it professional as well. Do you know what I mean? So don't speak to them as if they're one of your friends, because they're not. But don't treat them like they're bloody your manager at work. Do you know what I mean? So find that balance in the middle. Yeah? Cool. So let's keep it moving, man. So we're going to touch on tech packs now and why they're important. I said to you guys, I'm going to show you a few examples of a tech pack. And we're going to do that. I'm pretty sure it's in the next slide. So we've established what tech packs are. Next, we're going to show you exactly why it's important. So the main reason why tech packs are important is because it helps with non-verbal communication. This is what it all comes down to. A tech pack should be so detailed that a minimum level of words need to be exchanged between yourself and your manufacturers when describing your products. And to be honest with you, it's better this way because things can get lost in translation. Chinese whispers is a real thing, do you know what I mean to you? So once you have these tech packs, it's that the tech pack is that middle point between you and manufacturers, the middleman. Yeah, so in the next slide, we're going to show you a few different examples. Alright, so this is a tech pack. Some of you may not have known what I'm talking about before, but now you've seen this, you probably know exactly what it is. What I'm going to do in the next few slides, I'm going to break down one of the trendsetter tech packs and show you why it's beneficial. Yeah. Alright, smooth. So just move this out of the way. So this is the first page of the tech pack. There's a lot of different arrows. I'm going to break down each and every single one of them. Again, any questions, write them down. We'll chop it up at the end of the call. Yeah. So at the top over here, swings up my way, man. We've got the product details. Yeah. So just to kick off with it, we've got the season. So over here, we've got the season of your product. So whether that's autumn, winter, summer, you want to make sure that you're including that in your tech pack so your manufacturer knows. Then you've got your style code. This isn't necessarily needed until you get to the point where you've got so many products. It's just a lot easier to identify them by a code rather than actually saying the name of the product. So for example, this could be 001 and you can have the same tracksuit in black, 002. Just having that style code there. It helps you mainly internally when you begin to have a team, you can speak to your team and say, yeah, do we have any more 002s in stock? You know what I mean? Then you've got item. So pretty simple, do you know what I mean? Name of your product. You've got date of issuance. So when I'm working in clothing brands, a lot of brands actually think that the date of issuance is the date that this product was actually designed, but that date is pretty pointless. The date of issuance is the date that you expect this product to be made by your manufacturers. So whether that's your sample or your bulk order, make sure that you're always putting that in your tech pack. Again, holding your manufacturers accountable. They can clearly see we've got a deadline to meet. Then manufacturer, you want to make sure that you're always inputting the name of your manufacturer, whether that's the actual person's name or their company. Do you know what I mean? This helps you internally. Number one, that I would never recommend having one manufacturer. Always have 3, 4, 5, as much manufacturers as you can, the better. Yeah, but it's always good. And if you do have multiple manufacturers, it's always good to make sure you have the name so your team internally know that, okay, X manufacturer made this product, Y manufacturer made that product. Do you know what I mean? But then it's also like a stamp as well. If your manufacturer has the name on something, it's a unlikely chance that they're going to want to attach their name to a poor product. Do you know what I mean? So again, holding them accountable. And then last but not least, you've got your sample size. So when you're ordering your samples, you can get them in a small, medium, extra small, double XL. Make sure you're always inputting the size of your samples as well. Over here, you've got your fabric details. It's broken down into a few different elements. So first of all, you've got your fabric blend. So you've got on the back of your label, it may say 60% cotton, 40% polyester. You want to make sure that you've got that exact blend in your tech pack so your manufacturer can find that blend for you and produce that with your product. And then you also want to mention the GSM. You guys know what a GSM is because we just touched on that. It's the weight of your fabric. So if you want a heavyweight tracksuit, you may put her at 750 GSM. Do you know what I mean? Last but not least, in terms of the fabric details, make sure you always include the color as well. So we had like a cream color going on here. We didn't even actually release these tracksuits in this color, to be honest with you. But yeah, make sure you always include the color within your tech pack. Over here, we've got your sample approval dates. Just to keep up to date with your samples, it's a rare occurrence that you're going to be getting your sample right on the first time. So you want to make sure that you're tracking how many samples you actually create with a manufacturer and where within the process you're at. So for example, you've got your prototype samples, which is the first one, and then you may order some size set samples. So what that is, just a few different samples in a few different sizes as well. And then below you've got your date. So you can either put in the date that the manufacturer completed the samples or the date that you expect to receive them. You know what I mean? And then last but not least, we've got your CAD design. So this is just a technical drawing of a garment that is laid flat to show design details such as seams and stitching. So now can you see the difference between sending a picture and a tech pack? So when it comes to the tech pack, you can see the individual stitching lines, the different seams on the hoodie, etc., etc. It's a lot more specific, and again, less words are needed. When you're working in manufacturers, 9 times out of 10, they're in a different country. They're in China, Portugal, Turkey, Pakistan. There's that language barrier as well. So just to mitigate that language barrier, make it as visually clear as possible. What I like to see or think is that when I'm communicating with manufacturers, I talk to them as if they're a toddler. I want to make sure that even a toddler understands what I'm saying. And if a toddler wouldn't understand what I'm saying, clearly I'm not being as clear as I should with these manufacturers. You know what I mean? That's a little point for you guys. Cool. So this one here, same slide, but now you can see there's a lot of arrows pointing out all of the specific details of the product. So again, it gets real specific. Literally, like I said to you a minute ago, speak to these manufacturers as if they're toddlers. So okay, over here we've got hood. Anyone with 2 eyes can see that this is a hood. Anyone with 1 eye can see that's a hood. But again, be crystal clear with them. Let them know. You've got your cut and sew. On this tracksuit in particular, we had a rubber silicone patch, similar. I think it was this exact patch, to be honest with you, that we got here. We had the silicone patch on the hood. So again, make sure that you're kind of listening at every single details. The details that you feel like are obvious, put them down as well. Yeah. Cool. Even in terms of like the type of print. So for this tracksuit, we had the 3D injection print. It was like a rubber print on the chest. Let them know what print we expect. Now, this over here, yeah, like I can't even describe or let you guys. I don't know the best way to understand to let you guys understand how important this is. Measurements now, yeah. This is what I see a lot of clothing brand owners, they fall to the side on. Their product might look good, but the measurements of their products aren't the best. They lack on it. And you can't always actually blame the manufacturer. Sometimes it's you as a clothing brand owner. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're measuring your products down to the final detail. Yeah. So measuring across the shoulder, the chest, the hem, the width. This tech pack here actually breaks it down. So over here, if you go H, let me just find H on the diagram. H, that's the cuff width. Do you know what I mean? Making sure that you measure it. So it's not your job to measure each individual size in terms of small, medium, large. You just want to make sure that you do the best job at doing your measurements for one size. And then it's your manufacturer's responsibility to size it up or size it down. So what I often do is I'll go for a large, yeah, I'll measure the large, all of the details, and then I'll send it off to the manufacturers. And before they go ahead and make my bulk order, I tell them to send me the measurements for the medium, for the small, for the extra small. Do you know what I mean? Little gem for you guys, if you do want to kind of mitigate this issue, if you're not as confident in measuring and making sure you get all the measurements right, a little cheat code that you can do is, for example, buy a tracksuit that you like. It could be a trendsetter tracksuit, it could be a whatever tracksuit. Buy that tracksuit. You shouldn't really be doing this, but buy it, send it to your manufacturer, and then ask them to copy the measurements. This is what a lot of clothing brand owners do, which is why you see a lot of brands that have similar fits. Do you know what I mean? Or similar fabrics, because clothing brand owners, they'll just get the product, send it to the manufacturer. Can you recreate this? Manufacturers in China are very good at recreating stuff. Do you know what I mean? So if you're not that confident, that's always an option there. Yeah, cool. But yeah, measurement's important. That can really make or break your product. Then we've got your logo sizing. So two things, you've got your logo sizing and your logo placement. So when it comes to your tech pack, you want to make sure that you're clear on exactly where your logos are going to be placed, but then also the individual sizes. So at the top here, we had the logo size for the chest print, and then we had the logo size for the bottom print as well on the tracksuit bottoms. Do you know what I mean? What you don't want to do is make your logo unproportionate, if that's a word, yeah? So if you want to increase or decrease the size of your logo, you either want to increase the width or the length, or the height, sorry. Do you know what I mean? So for example, if I want to increase this logo from 10 inches to 12 inches, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say to my manufacturer, I want to increase the width of this logo to 12 inches. Can you let me know what the height of it's going to be? Because it's all in proportion. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So never try to calculate the logo size in terms of the width and the length yourself, because it's always going to look stretched out or a bit dragged out. I've done it before. Don't make that mistake. Do you know what I mean? So always increase it by one length and then ask your manufacturer to provide you the other length for you in proportion. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, sometimes you can go on, like, for example, Microsoft Word, and you can just drag an image and it's stretched out. That's what your logo is going to look like. It's not a good look. Yeah? So there's that. Then we get into the details that are kind of optional. So with trendsetter products, we make sure that our branding's done to the T, to the point. So we've got your neck labels, your size labels over here, just kind of breaking down exactly the size of your product, whether that's small, medium, large. You want your manufacturers to see this as well. Neck labels, they're critical. You do need those. Yeah, you can design it. It doesn't need to actually look like this, like a trendsetter one. Design your own, but let your manufacturer know what you want it to look like. You have options. Really, you can make your manufacturer make them for you, or you can find a separate manufacturer to make your labels and just stitch them in after. I just get it all done from one manufacturer when they're producing our products. It's a lot easier. Some of you may want hand tags as well. Put the designs of your hand tags within your tech packs as well. A lot of the time, these are just getting pulled off and thrown into the bin. Some people see it as a waste of money. We like to do it because it just finishes off the product nicely. Yeah, that's that. And I'm pretty sure this is the last of the tech pack. Packaging details. So again, optional. You don't actually need your manufacturers to package your own products within your own packaging bags. It can just be in clear bags. Let me show you an example quickly. So our manufacturers, they send our products in these custom branded bags. Do you know what I mean? They send them to us in this. But when we first started, we just had clear bags. Do you know what I mean? You don't always need to go over the top when it comes to your packaging. But if you are going to go over the top, make sure it's included in your tech pack so there's no mistakes on that as well. Yeah? So that's everything in terms of a tech pack. If you guys want, let me know. Drop it in the comments and I'll send over a tech pack template for you guys to actually use. You can edit yourself on Photoshop. Yeah? Cool, a lot of information. Let's try get through the rest of this now. All right, so we're heading towards the end of today. So next we're going to be talking. Someone was waiting to join. Yeah, so next we're going to be touching effective manufacturing over. Yes. It's going to ask you to move the mic. We're good. Cool. So overseas production versus United Kingdom production. So when it comes to selecting manufacturers, you have to determine whether it's more suitable for you to produce your products in the UK or abroad. To be honest with you, there is no right or wrong answer. However, each of them come at their own unique pros and cons. They all have their own cost. Yeah, it's all depending on what makes the most sense for your brand and where it's currently at. So let's look at the pros and the cons for both of them and determine which one makes the most sense for you and where you're currently at. Cool. So starting off now, we've got overseas production. Now, when you're working overseas, there's a few pros. The pros are that they're going to be cost savings in productions and cost savings in labor costs. So 9 times out of 10, labor costs are going to be a lot cheaper than over here. Bags just dropped. Labor costs are going to be a lot cheaper and production costs are going to be a lot cheaper as well. So you're going to see that over there in places such as China, Portugal, Turkey. You're going to have an enhanced flexibility in production. So what that means is when you're working overseas, you have a lot more creative control. You have a lot more custom custom creatability, if that makes sense. You can make your own patches, you can make your own zips, you can make your own labels. 9 times out of 10, it's very hard for you to actually make that over here in the UK. And if you do make it over here in the UK, best believe that the price is going to be dramatic. Do you know what I mean? Then we've got a diverse material options. So there's a range of different materials that you can use, different fabrics that you can use for your products. You've got a bigger selection out there in the overseas markets than you do over here. Last but not least, you've got global market reach. So when your products actually get made in China or Portugal, like my manufacturer, and this only happened because I've built a good relationship with my manufacturers, but as our products was being made, they said that they feel like they could sell some products out there in China. So they asked to keep a few of them to sell them. Do you know what I mean? They gave us the money for them at a lower cost, obviously, and they sold some of the products in China. So there are a few people in China wearing a brand that I've never met, don't know, but they're wearing the brand just because of that.
Big moves.
No, it's good, man. It's a good look, man. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So, yeah, you always have that potential, but again, that only really happened because of the relationship that I built with my manufacturer.
Yeah.
Next, you've got cons, so communication challenges. When you're working with manufacturers overseas, there's often that challenging communication. There's that language barrier. Do you know what I mean? They may be speaking Chinese, Portuguese. 9 times out of 10, they're going to speak English, but not the best English, not the Queen's English. So there's always that communication barrier. Quality control is a bit awkward sometimes because you can't actually go down there and check the products yourself. You have to trust them through video and photo evidence. Do you know what I mean? So you can't actually 100% rely on these pictures because photos can be deceiving, videos can be deceiving. Shipping and logistics, you've got to think about if you're producing your products in China, you need to ship them over here to the UK. There's going to be a cost associated with that. And then also imports and duties. So once your products arrive over here in the UK, a few of you may actually know this, but in order for you to clear it out of the UK borders, you always have to pay like a fee, an import fee. Do you know what I mean? Little gem for you guys as well. I just found out about this the other day. If you sign up to DHL, DHL's business account, then when you're importing your goods, you don't have to pay for it up front. You can pay for it in 30 days, I think. Pretty helpful. You know what I mean? And then again, no face-to-face interaction. So you can't actually just pull up to a manufacturer to see how things are going, but you can do that over here. Do you know what I mean? Pros and cons of overseas. If we're talking UK production, quality control is up. There's certain standards and levels that we need to maintain over here in the UK. So quality is never really an issue when it comes to manufacturing over here. I'm not talking about printing, I'm talking about actually manufacturing goods from start to finish. Faster turnaround times, sometimes, that's not all the times, but sometimes there's a faster turnaround time because you haven't got that shipping time to get your products from China to UK. 9 times out of 10, your manufacturers is an hour down the road. Yeah, you've got ethical and environmental standards. So I know there's a lot of clothing brand owners that do have a lot of care for things like this. Some others don't, do you know what I mean? But you've got that guarantee that over here, if you're producing your products, there's that ethical standard or requirement that's always going to be met. Understand that that's always going to come out of cost, though. That's going to make sure that your costs are slightly higher. Nothing wrong with it, though. Then you've got face-to-face interaction. So again, you can pop down to your manufacturers to see what's going on, to get a quick update, and then support your local economy. Now, I don't know about you guys, I don't care about that, supporting the local economy, but working in manufacturers over here in the UK, that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah. And then in terms of cons, you've got higher labor costs, again, because everyone needs to be paid on a higher rate or fairly, do you know what I mean? Which should be done everywhere, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't even recommend working with a manufacturer overseas that's not paying their staff fairly as well, because that just shows where their morals are at. And they're gonna, if they can't treat their employees right, they're not gonna treat their customers right. You know what I'm saying to you? So I wouldn't even recommend doing that. But you're gonna have limited production capacity. So because over here in the UK, we're not typically known for producing or manufacturing products, they may be a bit cramped to produce your products. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't have as much machinery or workforce as manufacturers overseas. You've got limited customization options. So like I said, it'll be difficult for you to make a rubber patch like this or your own custom zips. I'm not saying you can't, you definitely can. If you do, it's going to be priced a lot higher. You've got limited material options, and then you've got higher overhead costs, and then competitive pricing. So one thing I've realized over here is that manufacturers in the UK, they'll compare their prices to other manufacturers, meaning that all manufacturers are around the same level. But if you work with manufacturers overseas, their prices are all dependent on what they can offer. They're forgetting about everyone else. I can do this for you. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, pros and cons to both of them. There's no right or wrong answer. It all just depends where you're currently at. So this little diagram over here, we'll go through this quickly. You guys can do this by yourself, jot down on some paper. This is what's going to show you whether or not working overseas or in the UK is more beneficial for you right now. So what I want you guys to do in the next few minutes, just think about which one of these four is the most important to you. So do you have an emphasis on keeping costs low? Do you have an emphasis on visibility and communication? Do you have an emphasis on customized products or fast turnaround? Depending on where you're at, that's going to show you where you should go. So for example, if I know that I want to make sure that costs are low, maybe working overseas is a good idea. Do you know what I mean? And then working overseas, that's also going to allow me to have those customized products. But then if I know that maybe I don't really trust these manufacturers overseas and I want to have a bit more visibility and a higher communication rate, let me work over here in the manufacturers in the UK. Do you know what I mean? So does someone want to just unmute themselves real quick and let me know which one they fit into you?
I'm not
Anyone?
gonna lie. I think I think leaning towards like UK because if I know that the quality is being maintained and like the brand which I wanna push is based highly on quality more so than quantity, then I wanna stay on top of that. So
That's
I'll
fair.
probably lean towards UK still.
That's fair. That's fair. By the way, that's not to say that manufacturers overseas they have more good quality. Because sometimes you're going to see that some manufacturers have better quality than UK manufacturers over here. This is why I say you always need to make sure that you're doing your check. You're going through a list of different manufacturers to see which ones are right for you and which ones aren't. Do you know what I mean? But I do hear you though. I do hear you fully though. Yeah. Cool. So let's move on. We're not gonna go through this because it's just we're gonna be here for another hour. But what I'll do, I'll tell you the top 3 countries that I recommend working in terms of manufacturers. I'll probably say China quickly because they're cost effective, their supply chain, their scalability and quality standards, second to none. Do you know what I mean? Most of our manufacturers are in China. And like I said, we're flying out there next month, myself and the team, to actually meet them in person. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be recording the whole thing. So you guys will be able to see as well. So there's China, then Portugal. Portugal, very good manufacturers. They're quite close to the UK, which is another reason why I'd say it's a good option. They're very well known for their like sweatshirt materials, so like your tracksuits or your cotton t-shirts, your high GSM t-shirts. Portugal is very good for that. Do you know what I mean? And they've got like a good heritage or tradition for being in the textile industry. If that makes sense. Yeah. And then lastly, we've got Turkey. Turkey, again, not too far from the UK. They do speak quite good English out there. And then also, they're quite good at denim. So if you ever want to make some denim products, Turkey is probably the place to go. China's quite good at it too. But yeah, Turkey, they make quite good denim products. Bit more expensive. A lot of the clothing brands that you see out here, let me not even, I'm about to say the names, but a lot of clothing brands that you see in like the Foot Asylums or the JD Sports, they're using Turkish manufacturers. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So yeah, like I said, no right or wrong answer, but just always do your checks to figure out which ones are the best. And then lastly, of course, you've got the UK. We're right here. Your manufacturer can be your next door neighbor, high quality standards, close in proximity, and then ethical practices too. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, pros and cons to all of them, man. So quick recap before we wrap up. There's only a few more slides. I've got a few more things to give to you guys as well. Cool. Can someone state for me real quick the pros and cons of producing products in the UK? Anyone? And try, if it's anyone that hasn't actually spoken yet, try and get involved, man. I mean, no pressure though. Anyone jump up? No? All right, then cool. Well, I'll drop it for you guys. So, pros and cons working over here in the UK. Of course, closer quality standards, but then when it comes to the cons, limited ability to create customized clothing, and prices are going to be quite high. Next question: can you state some of the pros and cons of producing products overseas? Yeah, cheap, pretty much the opposite. So typically it's going to be cheaper, more flexibility in production. Cons typically are going to be that communication barrier, and then shipping costs as well. Big thing that you need to kind of factor in. Where are you most likely to find cheaper production prices, overseas or in the UK? Someone answer that for me. You guys must know.
Overseas.
Obviously overseas. Yeah.
Overseas though.
And then does the UK or overseas provide better quality? Let's see what you guys say.
UK.
Is that what you think, yeah? Any other answers?
Overseas.
Yeah.
When you look at all these high class designer brands, they all operate with, you know, manufacturers overseas. They don't work with the same manufacturers in their same country that they're based in, like America or Balenciaga. They don't work with American manufacturers.
I hear you. Really and truly, that question there is a trick question, because there's none. Like, you're gonna find good manufacturers over here in the UK, good manufacturers in Portugal, China, Turkey. Do you know what I mean? So really and truly, it's a trick question. You're gonna find good manufacturers everywhere, but you're gonna find bad manufacturers everywhere as well. Do you know what I mean?
True, that's very true.
Yeah. All right then. Cool. All right then. So that's everything in terms of the effective manufacturing phase. During the Blueprint Bootcamp, we're going to dive into a lot more. There's a lot more detail that we go into. I feel like I've been speaking for hours, but there's a lot more where that came from. And that's only one part of the blueprint. So, like I said to you at the start of the school, I was going to break down what the Blueprint Bootcamp is actually all about. And then you guys can let me know if it's something that you're going to be involved in. Any questions to us? Yeah? Cool. So, the Blueprint Bootcamp, across 4 days, we're going to be diving into the intensive Blueprint Bootcamp in the heart of central London, where we show you the exact formula to build and scale successful independent clothing brands, showing you the strategy to consistently sell out on all of your releases and build awareness around your brand while connecting with the right people along the way. So like I said, we're going to be in the heart of central London. We're going to be there for 4 days. We're going to have surprise guest speakers. So that could be guest speakers from other brands that are doing well at the moment, or it could be from some printers over here in the UK as well that's doing big things. We're going to have a blueprint workbook. So across the 4 days, you'll have actual workbook that you can write and use to make sure you're writing down your notes. I hope you guys are writing down notes today, but within the 4-day bootcamp, we're going to have an actual booklet. We're going to have product design sessions where we sit down, actually design your own products. We're going to be introducing you to manufacturers. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you something called the verified manufacturer list. And what that is just a list of manufacturers that I've personally worked with over the years that are vouched and verified. So you haven't got to go through those same problems that I went through when I first started my clothing brand, losing that 2.4K, having that bad communication issue. You've got manufacturers on your phone book in terms of the location, the emails and contact numbers. So you're going to always have that. And then towards the end, you're going to have a certificate of completion, just making sure that you can visibly see you've gone through the Blueprint Bootcamp. And then last but not least, you haven't done this before, but the team's planning this at the moment. We're going to have exclusive access to the end of year showcase. So what that is, at the end of the year, I think in November going into December times, we're going to have our first Blueprint event. But at this Blueprint event, we're going to have a few brands who go through the bootcamp actually selling down there. So selling your products down there, just start making some money back, whether that's your t-shirts, your tracksuits. There's going to be a lot of people in the industry there. So it's a networking central. It's a hub for everyone to come down. You're going to have your influencers, you're going to have other clothing brands, 3 different manufacturers, and you guys have the ability to actually be down there. You have your own store to sell your products. What I'm speaking to the team about as well is maybe like having like a little session where each of you can go up to kind of describe what your brand's about. You know, sometimes when you're selling products, it's very hard for you to actually tell the story behind your brand. So we're going to try and give you that time on the stage to actually describe how your brand started, why you started it, the story behind it, what makes your brand different. So yeah, it's going to be a big event. The team's planning that at the moment. So here's a few things that people say. Let's see if they load up. If they don't load up, I'll send it into the chat. So this is Ali. This is someone who came through the Blueprint program. He's got a brand called Finesse the Hustle. Let's see if it plays.
And Elevation. I want to just say a massive thank you to him and the team. Where do I start, man? All I got to say to you guys is that if you guys are serious to start your own clothing brand, definitely, guys, reach out to the team. Tay will help you, because when I first got started, I wasn't too sure where to even go about it. But then I saw Tay on TikTok and I saw what he was doing, and I was like, you know what? This is the person that can help me, man, to get where I want to get to. And if it wasn't for Tay, then my clothing brand, which is called Finesse the Hustle, wouldn't have existed. I owe so much to him. He's gonna put his 100% into it. You gotta put your 100% into it as well too. I mean, this over here just shows. This is my jacket. It's called Finesse the Hustle jacket. Turn around, show you guys what the back looks like as well too. But I owe so much to Tay, man, honestly. So I would definitely recommend, if any of you guys want to start a clothing brand, 100% reach out to the team. They'll help you. They'll guide you, because it's good to do it on your own. Trust me, it is not gonna be easy. All right. So definitely, if you are serious about it, because it's an investment, I would 100% say, invest. Elevate, man. Elevate. That's what it is, man. Elevation all the way. So shouts out to the team. And my brother Tay, yeah, man, this one's for you. Peace.
That's my boy Ali. So he actually started his own clothing brand, Finesse the Hustle. As you can see, he's a bit older. Do you know what I mean? I think he's touching 40, but he wanted to start his own clothing brand to kind of like put his kids on, for his kids as well. He's got teenage kids. So we started up his brand, and his brand's doing pretty well, man. Somehow he's got his brand over to Morocco, and he's selling quite well in Morocco at the moment as well. So that's big. And then this is someone called Cam. He's from Sweden. He actually flew in for the brand elevation session. We had him down here at the Trendset office. So here's what he had to say about it. I'm not too sure if everyone's going to understand, but there's some translations there.
All right then, bro. So right now, we're in the Trendset office. We're in our third session of the brand elevation program. Now, I know you're from Sweden. I know your first language is Swedish. So what I want you to do for the audience, break down how the program has been, but let's do it in Swedish.
Så jag skulle rekommendera för alla som vill starta ett verk att komma till Brand Elevation. Det har hjälpt mig tvärmycket. Det har hjälpt mig med att identifiera mina kunders perspektiv och min unika designprocess.
I don't know what you said, bro, but it sounds good though, man. Yeah.
So yeah, I actually don't know what you said. There's some captions there. Do you know what I mean? But it sounded good. Do you know what I mean? So working with Cam, I was working with him for like a 4-week period, having sessions consistently. His brand hasn't actually launched yet, but his brand's called Rilo. So you guys look out for that. It's going to be launching real soon, man. So that's just what a few people have to say about the program. Like I said, we're going to be sending you a few different templates completely free. So everyone inside here is a part of the community. So we're going to be sending you the conversation templates and the manual lingo guide. Some of you actually have this already. So yeah, we'll send that through to you. Let me know how you guys find it, how it helps you, man.